So just to give a little background, and you're probably wondering why in the world is this being presented to the cities in Kenton County, but so back Vision 2015, the Urban Renaissance Team, that was back in 2005, the importance of the urban core really was called attention to. And a vibrant urban core radiates out and makes all our cities in our northern Kentucky healthier and more vibrant. So this effort with the riverfront was way before Vision 2015, but it really kind of kick-started everything. So our healthy urban core in Covington makes all the cities in Kenton County more vibrant as well. So this design, the concepts for our riverfront, it started really probably back in 2006, 2007. There was a Riverfront West project, which is more at where, I'm trying to think, right on the other side, more where the waterfront used to be. So that was kind of the first phase. And then as we got into 2008, we really began to expand it with this, with the help of South Bank partners, and there was just more energy with Vision 2015 kind of stirring us along there a little bit. So anyway, 2008 we had 2007, 2008 we had a lot of public input meetings as to what people wanted to see on our riverfront. There was businesses and citizens, and so that input just kept building upon what we have now. And even now, as we get input from businesses and citizens, we're still pretty much in line with what we were hearing back from 2008. What you see now is a little bit of an enhancement that we've done just in the last year. It's an enhancement over the basic concept, the basic design we have for the riverfront. The basic design and the engineering drawings are with the Corps of Engineers right now, and we're waiting to hear from them any time now as to we got approval to move forward. The fancy stuff that you see, this extra kind of layer, is something that we came about after talking to the Cincinnati side. They had a plan that they actually probably started way before we did. That didn't happen overnight, just like this isn't happening overnight. And their plan evolved just like our plan has evolved. But what they found out that if they could add an enhancements to the basic design, that they were able to get funding from foundations, individuals, aside from the federal dollars, state dollars, and city dollars. So that's what we're trying to do here with this enhancement overlay, and I believe it's working. So I'm going to turn it over to Larissa and Mike, who have been amazing through this whole project.
Thanks, Mayor. I don't think this works this way, but it is working this way, right, Tim?
Yes.
Okay. So Larissa Sims, Assistant City Manager for Development in Covington. I've been in Covington for a little bit over 6 years, and that whole entire time we have been working on this project. And you might think, you know, why in the world is it taking so long? It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work that is really directly going to influence the future in northern Kentucky, not just in Covington, but for all of our cities. This is the gateway to northern Kentucky. And so it's taken a long time because we want to make sure that we do it well, we do it right, and that the asset is there for 100 years for all of us to enjoy. We see this portion of Riverfront Commons and really Riverfront Commons as a whole, as a regional asset. And what we're looking to do is to complete the riverfront experience. You've got great things going on in Cincinnati, you've got great things going on in Newport, a lot of good things going on in the other river cities, and South Bank and Riverfront Commons initiative overall is really meant to complete that. And so that when visitors and businesses and residents take a look at Cincinnati, northern Kentucky as a region to come and relocate, they see this and it makes them want to be here with us. So what I want to share with you today is some detail of the plan. We have been in the permitting process with the Corps of Engineers for a little bit more than a year now with a base plan that we submitted to them that is reflected here. And so during the time that we've been waiting to hear back from them on the permit, we've been doing fundraising. So we've received a couple of grants, one from OKI Regional Council of Governments, and a CMAQ grant from the state. And then we also took an opportunity, as the mayor said, to take a step back and to look at this asset again and make sure that what we are implementing is the best that it can be. And one of the things that we wanted to make sure, and you'll see that reflected here, is that actually two things. One, we're not trying to compete with Cincinnati. We're trying to complement what they're doing. And so you won't see a lot of replication of what's gone on over on the other side of the river. And the other thing is that we don't want to put an asset out there that we have to dump a bunch of money into over time. So things that have been on our mind through this process are long-term maintenance costs, paying maybe a little bit more upfront to elevate things up out of the floodway, so that we don't have to come in every day and clean it off. And then also programming. And so a lot of the orange that you see on here, those enhancements to the public space are meant to be attractions for the general public when there's not an event going on, when there's not something happening that's been programmed down on the riverfront. So that's a little bit of context. We have a lot of boards I'm going to go through with you today. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Mike's going to chime in. He's our engineer, so he knows all the details. And when I forget stuff, he reminds me. So what we did is we broke the riverfront down into several different areas, several different rooms, if you will. And we've got those areas broken out that I'm going to go over with you to show you what the assets look like. So we have Riverside Place, so that is essentially at the base of Riverside Terrace. When you get to the end of Greenup, we've got Roebling Bridge, pretty obvious, Mural Terrace, we've got the Madison Avenue Terminus, the Central Riverfront, the Bakewell Terminus, and then the Western Riverfront. And each of those spaces is meant to provide for a different sort of experience and to attract a different sort of audience. So the first one, we are looking towards enhancing the base of Riverside Terrace as it ends Greenup into an elevated roundabout that will have enough space for events to bring in food trucks, for folks to bring in their kayaks and canoes, things of that nature, and drop them off. We're looking at enhancements to the streetscape, and to the roundabout feature itself, bringing artistic elements into that. There's really a lot of space along the riverfront as we go that sort of lends itself as a canvas that we can build upon and to tell a story through art. We have the flood levee here in this area. It's a concrete levee. It's a big canvas itself, and so we are looking at potentially a water feature, a water wall of sorts, something that can provide good enhancement when the water is on, but also something that's very attractive when the water is off. So this would be an artistic feature as well. We've got our Roebling statue that's down in this area right now, so we will be relocating that into a little bit more of a prominent location so that when folks come down to the riverfront, they can see him, he can welcome them as they arrive. Moving to the next board, this is the Roebling Bridge area. One of the things that we kept thinking again and again is what kind of iconic feature can we install on the riverfront that would really make a statement for Covington? And we really quickly realized, well, we already have that. It's the Roebling Bridge. The Roebling Bridge is our icon. And so we tried to build all of these assets sort of around and to feature the Roebling Bridge. So under the bridge, we have proposed a cobbled beach. And so in this area, folks will be able to access the Ohio River with their kayaks, non-motorized kind of boats in this area. And an enhancement that we made was a kayak flume. So it'll be something that you could launch from, built right into the cobble beach. We also have some additional construction in the form of riverfront bleachers. This is an idea that we got from some other areas around the country. Provides sort of a secondary gathering space, provides for an area for folks to gather if they're coming to take a look at the digital projection that we've proposed for the base of the Roebling Bridge itself. And then we also have a grand stairway with a canopy structure that's being proposed. These things are not going to be easily implemented. They are concepts that we're going to have to put a lot of detail into and work through. But particularly the stairs are important because one of the things we want to make sure that we do is connect the riverfront with the rest of the city. And we've got Roebling Point Entertainment District just on the south side of this, and we've got the towers. We want to make sure that there's connectivity between what's going on in those areas and what's going on the riverfront. All right, and now we have the mural terrace. You're all familiar with where the mural is. And what that looks like today is we have a small octagon, and then we have the large octagon at the base of Madison Avenue. And that's been our traditional gathering space. There's been parking in that area. And it floods. It floods quite frequently. And so one of the main things that we wanted to accomplish here was to elevate that as much as we could up out of the floodplain. So there is a lot of groundwork that will be done here to create a elevated, the plaza. This is going to be the public gathering space in the downtown area. It'll be available for events, for Riverfest, I mean maybe even some weddings and things of that nature. So this large plaza will also incorporate artistic elements. So the pavement will be some sort of mosaic that will be designed. We've proposed some structural canopies, and this is just an example of what it might look like, but this is where we can install things like lighting features, misting, water spraying of fun things that can attract folks to be down there, and also gives the space a little bit more dimension, so it's not like one grand open space. It lets you feel a little bit more comfortable in the space. Also here, another big idea, long-term idea, above the murals is to install an elevated promenade. This is something that we've been talking about a lot with Corporex, and connecting the towers, again, to the riverfront area. We have some structural design studies that we're working on to try to see how this might work, but the intent is to connect all the way from the bridge across as a secondary elevated promenade area that folks can access, walk around.
The other big piece is the debris deflector down in the area.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have a unique situation where the Licking River comes in. I'm sorry. If you can-
What are we talking about? You come talk.
So the debris deflector is here, and we have a unique situation that the Licking River comes in to the Ohio at this location, so the river swirls, so we get a lot of debris that accumulates on the riverbank, so we want to make sure we've got that deflector in place to keep as much debris and material off of the new plaza area as we can when the river comes up. So those will actually be poles, and the poles they'll be really tall. They'll be about the same height as what the flood wall is now, and it'll be a floating structure that comes up and down with the river. And we talked about a few different ideas about what we could do with that, but at the end I think we came up with just trying to make those blend in with the background as much as possible, just so it would not take away from the murals and take away from the plaza. So that's where we are with that.
Okay, moving on. The Madison Avenue terminus. So here is where the large roundabout is. This is where the old riverfront, the boats, the barges, all of that activity used to live. And let me back up for just a second here too, because this is germane to that conversation. On the plaza, there's essentially 3 levels of walkways, if you will. There's one that's sort of the mural walk. There's one that connects through the middle of the plaza and then up back to Madison Avenue. And then there's one that kind of sweeps out into the river. And this is where you'll have that ability to really experience the water and to be right there on the water. And all of those will be connected with serpentines and stairways, be well lit and all of those sorts of things that you would expect in a public asset like that. So they all lead back up to the Madison Avenue terminus. Here we have a few big ideas that we are hoping to be able to accomplish. If you've been down there, you remember we've got those huge white structures, those dolphins that are out in the water. They used to hold the boats in place. So we went through a lot of different scenarios on what to do with those. Do we cut them off? Do we dig them out? Do we just leave them? And the thought at this moment is let's use them. Let's use them to provide for a fountain sort of structure, something that will, as you're on the Cincinnati side, that will say, hey, look over here, and call to you, and to attract folks over. To go with that those water features, we've got proposed a large fountain water wall is what it's actually called, off the end of Madison Avenue. Again, a big idea, something that we have to work through the details on, but it's something that would be unique for the riverfront experience as it is today. We have also a gate. This is, the gate wall structure that we have today is pretty antiquated. It takes our crews a couple of days to actually install the gate when it's there. So we've been talking for a long time about how to make that more efficient. So here we have proposed a new gate wall structure, one that's a lot less manual, something maybe you can just push the button and it closes. And along with that, again, would be the extension of the elevated promenade, connecting back into the city with more streetscape. Restrooms, always a question in public spaces, where do you put the restrooms? And so here we have, on the flip side of the flood wall, proposed that the restrooms be located in this area. Okay. Central Riverfront. So there's a lot of opportunity here on the Central Riverfront for the long term. Right now we have, we've received a grant, as I mentioned, from OKI through their SNK grant funding that they received to install the trail that will connect the waterfront, the old waterfront area to the Madison Avenue overlook. But longer term, as we continue to work with the IRS and the GSA on what their plans are for their facility, there's a lot of opportunity to have better connection between the downtown and the riverfront in this area. The flood wall right there is an earthen levee. If you think about what they've done at Smith Riverfront Park, it's still a flood structure, but it's terraced, and it's done so in a way that provides a lot of accessibility from the river to the downtown in Cincinnati. So using those sorts of techniques here would really provide for an enhanced environment for whatever future development might come when the IRS hopefully goes more or less horizontal. So you will be seeing probably a lot more detail on this as the years come. But for now, we do have that trail system, and that's going to be an 8-foot wide trail. It'll be lit. They'll have sidewalks and good accessibility to the river, good visibility. It'll be a safe place to be. We also have a sort of a serpentine area just to the west of the flood wall that folks can fish on or whatnot, and a small dock, if you will, for boats. Not anything that people can moor overnight or anything like that, but if they want to come up, check out what's going on, jump back on the boat. We have a fireboat, so we could also park our fireboat here and have it back in the city. Moving on to the old waterfront site, so where Jeff Ruby's boat used to be housed. It's a good space there. Right now there are 2 terraces. They're very flat. They don't flood that often. So there's a lot of opportunity for some additional activity in this space. We have a lot of concepts that we've been working through for that space. We sort of see that as a more active recreation type of node. And so we have our gathering space to the east, and then here would be the concepts for active recreation, climbing walls, zip lines, something that's maybe a little bit more family oriented, but that's unique. Again, not your typical swing set and slides and things of that nature. We also, there's a lot of parking on the flip side of the flood wall here, but the area itself, it's under the bridge structures, and so it's kind of unwelcoming, kind of scary at points. And so we talked about how do we activate that as sort of an undergardener, and we can put in things like over here to this area. Just some concepts, nothing is set in stone. You could do a skate park, you could do ice skating. Just those are the kinds of things that would make it a more inviting environment to be in. Kind of jumped ahead of myself here, but that's okay. Zip lines, rock climbing walls. These photos sort of give you some examples of the types of things that we're looking for in this area. And then finally, as you move towards the western riverfront, it is a more natural environment down there. There's a lot less connection. There's a lot less of the built environment here. And so we're looking to take advantage of that and to continue the riverfront trails, but also look at how would we use the canopy that's there, the tree structures that are there for, again, some adventure play. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Go Ape. They have some facilities in Indianapolis and then I think in Louisville or Lexington as well, where you can climb through the canopy structures, they do zip lines, they do a lot of other active types of recreation of that nature. And so this is seemed to be a good fit there. And then finally, connecting these assets to all of the great stuff that's in Devou Park. That's absolutely essential for us to continue our parks and recreation connections and enhancements in the city. So I think that's the overview.
Jump at the up and over.
We can talk about the up and over.
It's there. A second.
It's here. So as we were designing the trail, the Western Walk, as we call it, one of the things that came up from the convention center, the convention bureau, and the hotels that are in this area is that there's really not a good way for them to easily access the riverfront. And so we've designed an up and over the levee walkway so that folks that are staying at these hotels can jump right on. Actually, the access is here. Can jump right on and come right down to the river and walk down to the activities that are going on the plaza or anywhere else that they'd like to along the riverfront. So that's pretty much it. Anybody have any questions? Anyone want any more details? Is that more detail than you're looking for?
Doris, if I can just add,
Yes, ma'am.
we worked with Wolpert. Wolpert has basically been the engineer for all the riverfront commons, all the river cities. They have an excellent relationship in DC and with the Corps of Engineers. But for some of the design elements, they use human nature, and I don't know how many of you know human nature, but you have Chris Manning and Gary Wolenczak, and they did the Doe Run Lake Master Plan, and many of you are familiar with that. They've also been the design people for the banks on the Cincinnati side. They did the Washington Park design and also the Theodore Berry Friendship Park. So they're really good people, and so that last piece that Larissa talked about, they also did our Devou master plan. So that connection to Devou is really important, but that will also enhance our connection to what happens in Ludlow as well. So the connectivity piece is very, very important, and just wanted to add that.
You had mentioned about the Corps of Engineers, and they're doing the study on it now. How soon do you think you might get some response from that? And how soon do you think you might be implementing it? I think it's a great idea. This would be a great way to get down to Kent's place down there. Take a cup of coffee and then you go back to the hotel and go down the walkway. But I think it's fantastic. This is what the millennials want. We old people want it as well. We want our red bikes and go on down it. But what do you think is the time frame?
Yeah, so we kind of have two separate tandem phases going on. One is for the West Walk portion, so we have the grant funding for that. So we've been stepping through the requirements for design and with KYTC, and I think we're just about ready to break ground on everything to the west of the overlook. Now, to the east of the overlook, we have had that permit into the Corps of Engineers for over a year, but we're in public comment period now. And so what that means is we should have it pretty much any day, the permit to do that. So the city has funding in their capital fund to kick it off. We've got a $3.9 million CMAQ grant to fund this portion of it. And so as soon as we get that permit, we'll start putting out the RFP documents or the bid documents, I guess, the construction drawings and get it going as soon as we can.
What's the build program? Or what's the time frame?
Once you break ground.
Once you break ground.
It's probably a two-year build.
It's a lot of earthwork.
Well, yeah, it is, but at the same time, like I said, we built the sidewalks in Taylor Mill and Edgewood, and our millennials are walking in. We've got 300 and 400 people. This is going to be great. I mean, this is what they're looking for.
Yeah, we're excited.
We the old timers didn't do a lot of walking, but the new ones did.
Yep. Any other questions?
Well, I'm going to sit on those park benches. That's where I'll be.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to come and share this with you guys. We really appreciate it, and thanks for allowing us to use this as for recording purposes. But that pretty much wraps it up, unless anybody else has any questions.